guys! So today's video is going to be a recent read. It's been a while since I last did one because I haven't been reading that much recently, honestly, with the internship and school and being just tired. Reading hasn't been the one thing I've turned to. Whenever I had some free time, I've been more like enjoying movies and documentaries, I suppose. But we're gonna go through the books that I've read recently. So Aragon, Le Mouvement Perpétuel and Feu de Joie. Those are poems and surrealist poems, so they're definitely not everyone's cup of tea, that I am completely aware of. Especially those ones are quite, if I had to describe them, I'd say they're probably the most surrealist works you could find in all of Aragon's work. At least that's how I perceive them. Some of them are really difficult to grasp and have a hold of, but some are really beautiful and touching as well, and very inspiring. The one thing I really like about surrealism is that I personally don't think it's that much about understanding what it's about. For some works it's completely impossible to really understand what it was about, and I'd say that with surrealism, literary explanations and commentary really meet their limits, because surrealism is just beyond that kind of analysis, but they're inspiring. You know, whenever I read something that's about surrealism, or whenever I read things that are surrealist, I just find myself super inspired, and I write little things everywhere, and there are images that come to me, and I love surrealism. It's my favorite movement. I think that what I write when I write in French is pretty much influenced by surrealism. I read Le Paysan de Paris, which is also by Aragon, and I was really excited for that one. My sister got this for me for Christmas. It's a pretty amazing book. I honestly love that book so much because it's all about Paris, okay? It's about the little streets of Paris, some areas of Paris, and there's a part that's all about Les Buttes-Chaumont, which is my favorite park in Paris. That was pretty nice, and to think that those authors I really admire and look up to were just wandering in that same park I always go to whenever I feel down, whenever I feel happy, when I want to relax, when I have some free time. It's insane. That's also one thing I really like about Paris, is that I can see the influence and just the links with all the things I like literature wise. You know, I walk and I'm like, oh my god, that's what was presented in Zola's book, or that's what it was in Breton's book, or that street was named in that one book. It was an interesting side of Aragon. It was different from that one, and yeah, I did really enjoy that book, honestly. And then I read Revival by Stephen King, completely different from Aragon. What could I say? This actually felt really nice. You know, I love all of King's books, honestly. I don't think I've ever had any bad opinion of one of his books. Like, I've never read one of his books and be like, oh my god, that was not really nice. But sometimes, at least the last maybe 3 books that I read, I found them to be different from the ones I used to enjoy when I was younger. And I feel like with that one book, you get the feels and you get the atmosphere and everything from the old Stephen King. I think the feelings in that book are very ambiguous, and it's very difficult to know whether you like characters or whether you don't like them. I think that's the one thing I really like about Stephen King. I mean, one of the things I really like about him is that it's never black and white. He's the master of showing you that in life it's never black or white, but at the end of the day you gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta do what's right. I would recommend that one, especially if you are not really familiar with Stephen King and you don't want to read the old classics. I think with that one you get something more recent, but that still has all of the qualities that his old work has. And then we get into the Russian literature, because that's what I've been reading this month, or so, whatever, this past 2 months. So this one is The Kingdom of God is Within You by Tolstoy, and that was an exciting read because, okay, that goes with that one. So I read The Kingdom of God is Within You and Confession. So those 2 books are about religion and what Tolstoy thinks of religion, well, thoughts of religion, I mean Christianism, yeah, they're really interesting. I mean, if you want to know a bit more about him, and if you want to know a bit more about his personal opinion on things such as faith, goodness, kindness, and they're really, I think they're really important because they can be linked to so many different things. Even though Tolstoy is of the 19th century, it's really interesting to see how he really condemned the church and this so-called unity of the church, which is one thing that the church really relies on, which is to say that to discover the truth of, you know, the words of God, and to discover the truth of faith, you gotta be united and you gotta be one, and that happens in the church. So whoever says something that's against the church or against the dogma or differs from the dogma is immediately seen as an heretic or someone who's bad or someone that tries to destroy the unity that will eventually lead us to the Christ and whatever. And that was present in the 18th century, and that was still present in the 19th century, and also it talks about that. So I think these are two very important books because they're really interesting, they really make you think. Those two books are really great because they reconnect you with the possibility of God without having to subscribe to dogma or church. Okay, then I read two books by Dostoevsky. I read The Double and I think Notes from the Underground. I think that's how it's called in English. So let's be clear. I don't really like Dostoevsky. I like Tolstoy 100 times more, and I even like Gogol more than Dostoevsky, I think, and Chekhov a lot more as well. It's not that I dislike Dostoevsky, it's just that the style is not really what I like the best in the Russian literature. However, they're really interesting books, and I think Russian literature is immensely interesting and mind-opening. It's a very different way of dealing with situations, characters, and introspection, which I find really fascinating. Let's say I like this one better, Notes from the Underground. It was really harsh to read. I mean, it was a very bitter book, and I think most of his works are bitter anyway, which is probably why it appeals to so many people. And just like for Surrealism, it honestly makes me think of so many different storylines you could write about, I could write about, or so many different ways to approach a subject. In that case, it is a very mysterious sort of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sort of thing. And I don't know, I think it is really interesting, and especially because what I write is really influenced by Surrealism, but I think there's also a lot of, and I was present in Surrealism anyway, a lot of magical realism. That's what I really try to focus on and what comes naturally to me anyway. And I think with Dostoevsky you can find that, which is not what you find in Tolstoy's work. But that was really interesting. And yeah, I talked a lot. Let me know what you've been reading. I would really enjoy learning about that, especially if you've learned any foreign literature, because I'm always on the hunt for some, and I really want to try to read a bit more of Arabic literature, because I haven't read anything from, you know, north of Africa or the Arabic countries, which is a shame. Okay, so thank you for watching this video, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.